The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Touchdown, Seahawks!
It's time to BS.
Ice cubes and coffee. Play it. Anyway. No, it's just like I was chewing on ice by accident. Because I'm drinking my iced coffee. I'm like, oh, gross. But
So is it safe to assume you're not an iced coffee fan?
I am a huge iced coffee fan, actually, because I'm that psychopath. Well, because as a welder, I love the cold. And it drives my fiance absolutely crazy when I sleep with the windows open all the time because it gets because she's like, you're insane. And then in the summer it gets worse because I'll have the windows open and the air conditioner on.
Oh man, yeah.
You're just a psycho over there. So
yeah.
This is true, Kevin. This is true. Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen, to Seahawks Sessions episode 4. This is the first edition of Seahawks Sessions in the new year 2025. I am Staniel Smooth, the host of the Department of BS and the creator of this fine establishment. To the far that way.
There we go. You got
to the
it.
far side of the screen, we have El Dusto coming to you from the capital region of Albany, New York. And in the middle, joining us, the monkey in the middle in this regard, Belly Up senior writer and fellow Seahawks fan from the great state of Texas. Shoot 'em guns, Kevin Wilson. Don't make fun. Don't cancel me. I have fun here, people. Kevin, what's up, dude?
it's all good here in Texas, and we've got some good weather happening here. We know the apparently the freeze is en route, but as far as today is concerned, yes, the freeze is en route throughout most of the country. But today we got mostly sunny skies, and so we are doing great down here.
Is it true that there's a locust migration that happens like every spring?
You're on your own with that one. I don't know.
I am on my own on that one. Okay. I'm on my own. I think it's like every spring or every fall.
None of us could come to your defense or aid on that.
Okay. I am the only one in this department that has heard of that. I don't remember where I got that information from, but regardless, we are here. Oh, Dustin, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I am thrilled to be here with you two gentlemen. It was a busy day at work today. Coming back after the holidays is always a little bit rough. But I'm thrilled to be coming to you live from the Emerald Kingdome. The
Emerald Kingdome studio, yes.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually.
And I mean, I wish that we were talking under different circumstances. I wish the outcome of this past weekend's games were different, but we will get into all of that for sure.
Yes, we will.
Jack to have Kevin here, and as usual, Mr. Smooth. I'm excited to be here with you, and I can't wait to see what shenanigans. And, I told my esteemed co-host on No Credentials Required, he's the genesis of this because he had the three of us on the show, and then he didn't say anything for about 45 minutes.
It also went from, hey, let me just come up with like a retro-themed logo, and here we are. So
yeah, this logo is awesome.
This is
Sometimes
what happens.
you just do what you have to do.
This is what happens when I have way too much time on my hands. Which says a lot because I do 4 of these.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, you
I know you were on already, twice today?
This is my second one.
Oh, okay.
This is my second one, and I did the main show yesterday, and then I did a BS sessions on Wednesday. So I have been busy. I've just been cranking out clips as well for the last week and a half.
Yeah, a clip machine. Follow him on Twitter to get all the clips and stuff. He's been doing
Twitter,
a great job.
TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Follow me there. I post a lot of shit. But it's been hectic on my end because Kev, I was telling Dustin before you came on, my car is not doing so well. So you might appreciate this. I have an
I do.
I have an '04 Buick LeSabre.
Okay.
The stock everything, just over 90,000 miles original.
Okay.
Wow.
It
Okay.
is a beauty. It drives like a champ.
Buicks are smooth. I remember that.
They're smooth. They are very smooth. They drive great. General Motors, amazingly. They don't make the good cars like that anymore. And what happened was I want to see one of the calipers warped. So I think it's one of the calipers. Worst case scenario, it's the rotor, but something's warped in there. So hopefully it's only just one of them. I pray to God it's only one of them because, I got a wedding to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it's not. And hopefully you don't hear the dreaded combo of brakes and rotors. That's always the worst. You get that. And I mean, I don't know if either of you know anything about cars, but I don't. And
I do a little bit.
To quote an old Seinfeld reference, one George Costanza, they could tell me anything. They could be like, "Oh, we got to replace the Johnson rod in here," and I'd be like, "Okay." They
As long as not the brakes and the rotors, you're fine.
Yeah, no, I do have a friend that is a former mechanic, so a lot of times if I smell BS, and not the good kind on BS sessions, I will call him and be like, "Hey man, is this legit?" And one time he
Yeah.
really did save my behind. He was like, "That's probably still under warranty. If they're trying to charge you for that, tell them to F off and say that you don't want it." So that's what I did. And then of course they're like, "Oh, magically, it's still under warranty. We can do that for you for free today." So I was like, "Okay, go to town then."
Okay, do whatever. Take your time, guys. I'll buy you guys lunch.
Yeah, yeah.
Sandwiches, Subway. What do you want?
Well, I've gotten to the point where I've known more about cars recently than I would probably care to know. Because I have a 2010 Dodge Charger that has 172,000 miles on it.
Oh,
And it was a
man.
great car for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, something would happen. I'd fix that. And something else would happen. I would fix that.
Yeah.
And then it's gotten to the point where we had to go out and get another vehicle.
Oh,
Jeez.
And so
Chargers will do that. Chargers will do
Chargers,
that.
everybody says, well, 172, that's about 100, maybe 70,000 more than he could have expected. So I guess I'll live with it. But, if I'd sold it 2 months ago, I would have saved me a lot of aggravation.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
That's the problem that you got to go through a Charger, especially at the old muscle, like the newer muscle cars. Is like, hey, they look great, they sound great, but when they go, oh, they will go. They're like an old dog. It's like when they're going, oh, they just want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
But this shows you how ignorant I am. How far back do you have to go for a car to be considered a classic now? Because I know it increased, obviously as we move forward in time, the bar keeps going up.
I think, in my personal opinion, because I'm a fan of like the classic cars from the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
That was the best 20 years of cars around that time. You can argue the early 90s as well with the lowrider era.
I'd throw some 60s in there while you're at it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So
60s
so
for sure.
35, 40 years from the 60s to like 1995. You can argue is like those 35 years. As
Yeah,
the
and
best
if you
era
had a
of
car back
cars.
then, you could run into a tree, a bridge, whatever, and you just drive away from it. So
Jesus.
Yeah.
So there's a running. So the best man at my wedding had a 04 Grand Cherokee. That thing was built like a tank. It had 250,000 miles on it. And what finally did it in was the transmission kept blowing.
Oh, yeah.
And so that thing was built like a tank. He hit a guardrail. It's fine.
that's what I'm saying. I hit a light post when I was a senior in high school, and it kind of went like this. And then the light didn't come on for 3 days afterwards, and everybody was like, "What happened to the street light?" I'm like,
What
I don't know
happened?
what happened to it, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I went and I looked, and nothing happened to my
Nothing.
car. No
Oh,
scratch,
man.
no nothing.
That's beautiful.
That was a Chevy Malibu that I had back in those days,
Oh,
and
Chevy back in the day made such great cars.
Oh,
They really
man.
did. They really did.
Yeah.
And I had what was it? Before I got this car, I was looking at an '86 Dodge D series. That thing was
Okay.
beautiful. It was lifted and everything. It was gorgeous. The problem is that it had no airbags for being an '86 D series. So
Yeah, you kind of need those now. You kind of need them.
yeah, you need those. You need those today, ladies and gentlemen. You do. So I was ready to buy it, and then my mother came screaming down the street and go, "Don't you fucking dare buy that car!" And I'm like, "All right, I won't buy the car. Jesus, fine."
fortunately for me, I've never been in a car where the airbags had to deploy, so
Yeah.
I
Neither
feel
have I.
I'm pretty fortunate there. So
Yeah. I'm knocking
Neither have
on
I.
wood for that one.
Yeah, I'm knocking on wood too.
I'm
We-
the same way.
We're stalling.
we are.
We're stalling, and I love this. This is the point of like this particular program is like we stall for the dumbest of shit. Like me and Jack, my co-host at Time to BS, we're talking about burgers and hot dogs.
I
for
saw
20
that.
for 20 minutes before we eventually moved on to the show. It was great.
Yeah, let me just add, because he mentioned about breakfast jacks. Those are very good.
Oh, they
By the way.
are.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I
there
gotta try that. And while we have the formal opportunity, and I know Ryan feels the same way, and we've been vocal about thanking you on the show, Kevin, but you are the inspiration behind our hot food takes on the Saturday brunch editions. You are
Wherever
the
I
reason
can
it
help.
happened. And they've been some of the most fun segments. So I thank you for that. What will we talk about this Saturday? You might just have to tune in.
I'd have to
find
tune
out.
in, because I remember we discussed meatloaf one time, and
Yeah.
should it have gravy on it, which I firmly established that it should.
Mhm.
And so that just gives you a little.
Listen to the Texan. Listen to him.
That's right. Listen.
To the.
Yeah, listen right here, and don't put any ketchup or any of that nonsense on the top of it. I don't want any of that. Just give me the gravy and some mushrooms, and I'm good to go.
The furthest you can go is barbecue sauce, but that's it. That's the furthest you can go.
Oh
yeah,
man.
one time I had a meatloaf that had the tomato sauce, and then they put gravy
shit.
on it. That was,
Oh no.
Damn it!
Oh, there we go.
Man.
I thought we had
Always,
crash landed
every
there for a
time.
minute.
Hold on.
Yeah, your camera angle. There we go.
There we go.
There we
So,
go.
for some reason, the camera, like, I don't know what it is. Like, the camera has been messing it. But I just move it. Don't you dare.
Yeah, keep your hand. Oh, there it is. Wow.
Man, this is chaos already, and I love it.
Chaos.
It's kinda
Chaos.
like
Is it chaos with a capital K or a C? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Seahawks season.
Yeah.
This year. But I guess while Mr. Smooth is sorting things out here, I'm going to ask you, because you were not live. You were watching live, but you were not live for when Mr. Smooth and I discussed how our Seahawks fandom started. So I guess I want to get your perspective on how did you end up, a man that currently resides in Texas, rooting for our beloved Seattle Seahawks?
Okay, so this is a story right here, and I got my jersey on, so I'm ready. Okay.
Oh,
nice.
nice. All right.
All right, so I'm originally from the state of Utah, and as you know, there are no NFL teams, so we have to incorporate. Okay, so I was in high school, and I went into the sporting goods store one time, and they had helmets, NFL helmets, hanging up on the rafters and stuff, and I looked around, and I saw the Seahawk helmet.
Ooh.
And I had never seen a Seahawk helmet before, and I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Oh man!
And I was like, "What team is that?" And that's the Seattle Seahawks. And so, shortly thereafter is when you had Jim Zorn running around throwing to Steve Largent and all that. And
Show your
they were an
stuff
exciting
and
team.
drink
So,
milk.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And so I became a fan based
Protein and
on
vitamins.
the helmet. And let me just say, because in the '90s that was not easy because the Seahawks were awful.
Nope.
They were awful. Okay,
Yes,
so a
ladies
lot
and
of
gentlemen,
people
the
that are
Seahawks
watching
used to
this,
stink.
Yes, they did for a long time.
they did, and
For a long time.
a lot of people watching this may not have been around or anything, but they were awful.
Oh God.
And just about the time
Cortez Kennedy won defensive player of the year.
Cortez Kennedy, that's correct.
Won defensive player of the year they went like 4-12.
Yes. And that's why Cortez Kennedy is one of the great players that we could ever discuss. And, unfortunately he passed pretty early on.
Yeah.
And, so back in the '90s, it was not easy being a Seahawk fan. So when they started to turn things around in the 2000s, and they actually went to the Super Bowl and lost to the hated Steelers. Okay.
Yep. Still hate them for that.
I give them a pass right now because Russell Wilson is on the Seahawks and or on the Steelers rather. And my wife for my birthday went out and got a Russell Wilson Steelers jersey.
Oh
yeah,
man,
I can accept that.
That's a conflicted man right there.
That is conflicted. I have to tell you because I had it on right because you're obligated obviously.
Yeah.
And she took a picture of that and I posted it because there was a little dog in my arms and it was a pretty cute picture and everything. And I posted that, but there's a friend that I've had since the 1980s and he came in and said, what did you lose a bet? Is that why you're wearing that jersey? And I had to explain, well, it's Russell Wilson. So
yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, which I'll give you credit again. I'll give you credit again on the genesis of Ryan having the three of us on the show. You said one of the things that we wanted to discuss, and you, me, and Mr. Smooth went so far off the rails we didn't get to it. But you called that Russell Wilson was going to be good for the Steelers. You called it. I remember you said I want to discuss the signing because I think he's going to do well. So hats off to you. I think I can't remember where I stood. I think I thought that he was going to do better than he had in Denver, and I thought that all the people that were saying he was washed were a little premature. And I can't remember where Mr. Smooth was.
I'm not a Tomlin guy, so I really can't say shit.
Yeah, but I will.
I used to be a Tomlin guy.
Yeah, you might have to explain that because Tomlin's never had a losing season in his entire NFL career.
Okay.
And not that I'm going to his defense. Don't get me wrong.
No, I hear you. But so my dad's a Steeler fan.
Oh, that's talk about conflicted.
My dad is a longtime Steelers fan. He grew up with the Steel Curtain.
Okay.
And I would tell him, I was like, oh, Tomlin's a good coach. And then over the last few years, he's been in the realm of, I just think, I don't know what, like Tomlin just doesn't, it's the same old cliches over and over again. And it's
my
like,
cat's getting in the picture, so
what's up, Bob? But it's every time that Tomlin loses or even wins, it's like the same old cliche. It's like, oh, we got to get better. It's like, oh, it was splash plays. Like, and it stinks because the Steelers, like, I have a soft side for Pittsburgh in that regard because of my dad. But I feel that roster on paper in Pittsburgh is so top heavy. But they're the most infuriating team to watch in the AFC, aside from the Jets. Because, oh God, but aside from the Jets, Pittsburgh's infuriating because if they just had a coach that wasn't so stubborn, they'd be fine. They'd be fine. But because Pittsburgh doesn't fire coaches, and they had to, who was the GM before? Kevin Colbert. They had to force Kevin Colbert to retire. And
his name's Kevin, so he's bringing on the power just right out of the gate.
This is true. But I don't know. I look at Pittsburgh, I go, I was in the same boat with Carol when I said they're not going to get far until massive changes are made, and it might be Tomlin's time very soon. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I love being wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I genuinely enjoy being wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, oh, I will die on this hill. Like, no, please prove me wrong. Please.
No, but I will say too, to give credit to you, you were the one. I was hesitant about the Carroll firing.
Yep.
You were the one that said it had to happen.
Because I'm an Islander fan, that's why.
Yeah, I was with you, Dustin. I was like, well, I don't know about this, but Mr. Smooth was on the runway getting ready to take off from the moment that all began. So
yeah,
it's like, see ya, fuckers. I'll see you on the other side. But we've been stalling for the past 20 minutes or so. So let's get on to the meat of the pie. You know what I mean? It's
okay.
The Seattle Seahawks, as of Sunday night, because the Falcons lost to Washington in overtime and they strength of schedule nonsense and blah, 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 have been officially eliminated from playoff contention. And as a majority of Seahawk fans that do watch this show and watch various clips of the program and stuff like that, I am not upset of this outcome. And I will tell you why. A majority of the NFL media has projected this team to finish under 7 wins, saying, "Oh, the Carroll loss is going to be bad." The Carroll USA Today and their incompetent asses predicted Seattle to finish 5-12. So, need I say more? I was under the impression that the Seahawks would win the NFC West with 11 wins, and I was wrong, and that's fine. Nope, no shame in that. And I thought the defense would be better than they were last year. I was right about that. Mike, what gives me a lot of hope is the defense and the fact that this is the first year of a new system, rookie head coach, new offensive coordinator, completely new system that you're trying to do here in Seattle. Completely new era. And I know a lot of the Hawks fans are like, "Oh, fire Ryan Grubb." Oh, there's a good chunk of them. They're like, "Oh, fire Mike." The old heads that date back to like the Chuck Knox era, or like, "Oh, the Pete Carroll old heads," are like the loyalists, as Dustin would say, like, "Oh, Mike McDonald's not the guy." I'm like, "What are you, out of your mind? It's a first-year head coach."
Yeah,
and yeah. A lot of Seahawk fans, you better check the filter maybe in their heater, because some of these fire. That's all they ever talk about. So it's like
unbelievable.
Can you relax just a little bit?
Yeah, and we've preached this for 3 weeks now. Just calm down. It's fine. And even the fact that they didn't make the playoffs, I said, okay, there's something here to build on.
Yeah,
and they have a lot of young talent, like particularly in the last 2 drafts. Devin Witherspoon, perfect. Devin Witherspoon's a building block to build on. You got guys like
Jackson Smith, Najigma.
Yeah, he might be the single biggest reason why the Metcalf trade rumors have picked up over the last several weeks. He is the biggest reason why, and he's
going to wind up with 100 receptions for 1,000 yards. So
he absolutely is, and the other draft picks are like AJ Barner. He reminds me of a younger Jimmy Graham a little bit. The way he just fights people, I love it. They have some more pieces there that you can really look at and go, okay, they have some promise here. Anthony Bradford. Christian Haynes, Oluwatimi. They have pieces here. Michael Jarrell.
Yeah. Oluwatimi's done very well.
He really has. Satalo Lamea, Zach Charbonnet, Kenny McIntosh, Kenneth Walker. They have talent on this offense.
Yeah.
And that's what gives me a lot of hope is, okay, give it 1 or 2 good off seasons for them to really compete and really to say, hey, let's go for it. Let's go for something. Let's go for a Super Bowl. Let's go for an NFC title. Let's go for the division. It says baby steps, people, baby steps.
Yeah, and I'm gonna. I'm going to step in and I'm going to say that I am a little bit disappointed because I was kind of on the same page as USA Today. I did not think the Seahawks would be 5 wins, but I didn't think they'd get over 7. So everything that they've done is gravy, although there have been some frustrating points. I still will go to that Giants game. They were inept during that Giants game.
Yeah.
And the Giants do have a better defensive rush and a defensive front four than people realize, but still, the offensive line did not protect Geno at all that game. It was 9 sacks, I think the Giants got. But also offensively, the Seahawks did the same thing that they did against the Bears. And I will pass the torch to you shortly, Kevin, because I know you agree with me a little bit about this. But I am happy with the way the season went because they overachieved a little bit. I thought it would take a little bit longer for the Mike McDonald / John Schneider rebuild to go into effect. But as you pointed it out, they have been right about certain things, and we will give credit where credit is due. Pete's last draft, he had some picks. He had some picks that were some good ones in there. And I remember a head scratching at the time when Kenneth Walker was selected, and then they drafted Charbonnet. With a little bit, I have a friend whose last name is Charbonneau, so I have to stop myself every time. They drafted Charbonnet. I kind of was scratching my head because people were saying they probably could have got him later, and they already drafted a running back, and they have needs other places. But the Charbonnet pick is making a lot of sense now, and there's other picks on the that you're excited about this roster, and but I'm going to pat if they didn't play down to the Bears and the Giants, and I really look at the Rams game, that Rams game that we could have won with the two red zone interceptions. Those are the linchpins of the season. But I, like you, Mr. Smooth, am very happy with the way this season came out, despite the loss. There has been some frustration, but here we are. And with that, I cede the floor to you, Kevin.
It takes time. It takes time. But you go, Kevin. See what you got.
Okay, I thought, if you told me before the season began 9 wins, I would have been down with that. Mm-hmm. So, but the main thing that it eats to this very minute, just eats my insides is that Giants game. Yeah. And for the life of me, that's right there. And a little bit, when you look at this a little bit, the Seahawks lost 6 games at home.
Yeah.
You cannot be a serious team if you're losing 6 home games. And I know they played a lot of great teams like the Bills and all that, but still 6 wins or 6 losses at home. They still wound up with 9 wins. I don't know how they managed to pull that off, but just the fact that they lost to the Giants until this last weekend, the Giants hadn't won a game since then.
Yeah.
And so that really, 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 eats at me because not only did they lose the game, but at the time, one of our Belly Up associates, Nathan, is a Giants fan. So I had to listen to him go on and on and on about that. So it just eats me to this, like I said, this very minute that they lost that game. So you turn that result around, and let's say they went into LA and lost. There would be no lots of people lose in LA, and they did, and then they didn't win a division. But at least they'd be in it.
Yeah,
and they're not, and it all rolls down into that Giants game. And another thing is like the Packers, right?
But let's backtrack for a second.
Okay,
backtrack. Let's backtrack. The 6 home losses, that stings a little bit, but let's also understand and say it's a rookie head coach, an offensive coordinator never called in the NFL.
Yeah.
And what have we clamored as Hawks fans since the final 4 years of Pete Carroll's tenure? Just get this defense going, please. Mm-hmm. Okay, mission accomplished.
Yeah, they were 13th in total defense.
Yeah, this defense is.
You will take that.
I will take that
all day long
in a heartbeat.
And it's dangerously close to top 10. And we all know that if you're getting into top 10 defense, now you're cooking with gas.
Yes.
Right. And you talk about top 10, Dustin, because they were 10th in points allowed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
we're they were right there as far as defense, but the rush defense was 18th. They've got to improve that. And if they do that, then the defense is on its way.
Yeah, and they have the players to do it. Byron Murphy, we're only getting a sniff of what he can do, and you see the potential there with Byron Murphy and the Leonard Williams. I am stunned Leonard Williams didn't make the Pro Bowl this year.
Yeah,
stunned.
If that's the Devin Witherspoon's the only Pro Bowl player. Someone's going to have to explain that to me because I'm not down with that at all. So
I'm gonna look at the defensive players that are starters going into next season. Tyrese Knight, Byron Murphy. Tyrese, I think we were pleasantly surprised when Tyrese Knight was starting over Tyrell Dodson. And then when Ernest Jones filled in, it was like, okay, these two fit like a glove together. Derek Hall, Boy Mafe, Kobe Bryant. Since Kobe Bryant has been transitioned to the starting strong safety position, he's played great.
He has, yeah.
He really has. And
his interception has to be one of the highlight plays of the entire year.
Yeah. Against Arizona, the first Cardinals game, yeah. But I don't know what their cap situation is like off the top of my head, but unless they like restructure a lot of deals, because we'll get to the Geno Smith discussion later, but there's a lot to be excited about. But I want to ask you guys, it's more of like who or what do you blame? Because on my end, I really have one thing to blame, and it's very small, because at the same point, it's like, okay, there's a lot to build from here. But option one, we have Geno Smith and the turnovers. Option two is ineffective offensive line. And option three is bad play calling. So, Kevin, you go first. Like, what would you blame for the Seahawks missing the playoffs this season?
I think that blame might be too, hard of a word. I don't know if there's anyone specifically to blame with this, because we're talking about, like I said, a team that won 9 games.
Yeah.
And so blame is a little strong word for me. The offensive line, we've been talking about them for years now. And they, whoever you want to put they into that category, just can't seem to get that offensive line going. And so if they ever, in injuries, there's nothing you can blame, about injuries, because, you had Kenneth Walker. I like him a lot.
Yes.
But he only had 500 yards. Okay.
Yeah.
And Zach Charbonnet. And I was like you, Dustin, because I remember back in the day, a guy by the name of Joe Charbonneau was the rookie of the year in the American League one year. So I had to
There we go.
So Joe was in my mind and not Zach. But anyway, but he had 500 yards as well. So you're talking about an offense about 1,000 yards, and Saquon Barkley had 2,000 all by himself. Yeah. So they've got to get the run game ranked 30th. So that means only 2 teams in the entire NFL had worse running games.
That can't
happen.
So
that's got to improve.
Yeah, that can't happen.
No, that can't happen, especially on a Seahawks team, because we know how to run the football. They know how to run the football. Even when they were awful with guys like Chris Warren, they knew how to run the football.
Kurt Warner in the 80s.
Kurt Warner, we go way. We can get on the train and go way back in time. But so the run game, there's your issue to me, is they got to be better. They got to pull that up into the top 15, and if they do that, we're good.
Dustin, what about you, dude? I mean,
for me,
I'm very curious to see what you could feel in this one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll call it a tie with one slight modification and a edge in one category. So I'm going to kind of cheat, but option one factors in. As much as I am always willing to heap praise on Geno Smith. He's got to cut down the turnovers, but specifically the red zone turnovers. The red zone turnovers is where all the Geno haters come out and they talk about, and they're not completely wrong about his red zone turnovers. But I think a contributing factor to his red zone turnovers is the offensive line. You hit on it, Kevin. Whoever you want to assign blame to, the offensive line is the big reason for me, because a lot of people I put it at the feet of Pete Carroll, and I'm saying he didn't invest picks in the offensive line. And I bemoaned on one of the earlier episodes of this show. It just seems like whoever was grading offensive linemen never really got it right. And then the few times where they did, there were so many injuries on the line that you had to patchwork the line back together. But now we see it. Transitioning into the start of the John Schneider era, the offensive line was still an issue for the Seattle Seahawks. So I give it number one with a bullet for me is the offensive line. Number 1A is Geno's red zone turnovers, specifically the red zone turnovers, because he had 2 interceptions in the Rams game that cost us that game. And you can't, I would have to go back and rewatch the tape. He was getting hit a lot in that game, but the red zone throws, I don't remember him scrambling around running for his life. I think he just didn't see somebody in the red zone and threw it. You know, that does happen sometimes, but for me, it's offensive line.
I'm in the same boat with you as well, but I say we give it one more offseason to really see what they can do, because looking at the depth chart, they were on their 4th right tackle.
Yeah.
This season. Abe Lucas didn't start until like week 10.
Yeah, and it did stabilize, and then obviously when the change was made at center, that was also a big.
Yeah, Olu coming in did help a lot, and then Satalo Lamea coming in at right tackle despite a dreadful game against the Packers. He's played well.
Yeah.
The other, Laken Tomlinson, I don't think he's back next season, because I think they want to see what they got in Christian Haynes.
Yeah.
Because that man can maul people. If not, then Anthony Bradford. See what you can do, because Bradford fell off the face of the map from his rookie season, and it's a shame, because he's a big dude. He's a big dude who can move people. Yeah. So,
and you gotta get the offensive line going, because even at the Jet game, you and I were both there live, Mr. Smooth, and my I'm gonna be calling you that for the rest of the run of the show. By the way, it just rolls off the tongue.
Just get used to it.
I'm down with that.
But my buddy Scott is a Jets fan. Ryan did not join me for this particular game. They were tickets from my brother-in-law, and my other buddy Scott is a Jet fan, and he said, why aren't they using Walker more in the red zone? And I said to him, do you realize that anytime they were trying to pound the rock to get a touchdown, they switched to Charbonnet? I said, Kenneth Walker he's a bounce it outside. He is a east-west and a burst of speed runner. Charbonnet is much more downhill. So to effectively use both of those styles, you need an offensive line. You need a good offensive line.
Yeah, and Walker reminds me a lot of Stephen Ridley back when he was with the Patriots. He's not a downhill guy. He's a bounce outside zone. He's one of those guys that loves to get to the outside. Yeah. And Sharps is a perfect Pete Carroll guy, where you want to just run the ball downhill and just maul people.
Yeah.
Kenny McIntosh gets me excited too, because that kid can run.
If they ever get him on the field.
Yeah, but we'll see where everything goes. Again, patience, people.
Patience. And I think you're onto something, Dustin, with the 15 interceptions. That's way too many. You got guys now are throwing 6 interceptions or less an entire season, so you can't turn the ball over 15 times. And 17 TDs, that's not making it either. He would throw the ball all over the place, but they just didn't result in scores. So
yeah, whatever happened in the red zone was a thorn in the side of the Seahawks offense this year.
So I have a question for you guys, and there's a lot of Hawks Twitter and a lot of Hawks fans that call into various Seahawks radio shows and over in Seattle that are very curious to know what are they going to do with Geno. Are they going to cut him? Are they going to trade him? Are they going to sign him? Blah, blah, blah. So let's pander to the cut Geno crowd for about 5 minutes now, because it's just this is what we do, ladies and gentlemen. We like to cause chaos.
Okay.
If you're a subscriber of Time to BS for all these years, you know I love to cause chaos. So Geno Smith is 5th in the league in passing yards.
right. He has
Kevin,
4,097.
Kevin, you're a fantasy guy. Do you know the
Yes.
Do you know the other 4 leaders in passing yards off the top of your head?
I do not. I know one of them for sure is Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow is close to 5,000, number 1.
Okay, so you talk about the fantasy MVP of the entire season. Joe Burrow is it.
Followed by Jared Goff, Detroit.
Okay,
That was
I can
good.
buy that.
Yes.
Baker
Okay.
Mayfield,
okay.
Baker.
and
That's
Sam Darnold is 4th.
Sam Darnold.
wow.
So if ever you feel unconfident about the fact that Geno's not the guy, I am not going to excuse the red zone interceptions. I'm not going to excuse the 17 touchdown passes. However, he has thrown 4,000 yards. And by the way, the probable MVP of the entire National Football League, Josh Allen, is 9th.
Ninth
and
in
you-
yards.
Ninth
Wow.
in passing yards. Think about that shit for a second here.
Yeah.
So I'm not willing to say, hey, let's move on from Geno and go to, I don't know, a JJ McCarthy or some shit. Do you really want to empty the kitchen sink for JJ McCarthy? No.
No,
No.
I
no.
don't
And the Vikings aren't going to do that anyway. So
They can't.
people's jets get lit off or something like that, and it's just the Vikings are going to keep them both.
They
This
have
is my
to.
prediction right here, right now. So if you're looking for JJ McCarthy, forget it.
Yeah.
So, again, not excusing the interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Not excusing that. But I think if you watch the tape, even going back to the first game of the year against Denver, Denver was pressuring the Seahawks all game long.
Yep.
All game.
That's the key to beating them is pressure.
Yeah. So I think it all comes down to coaching and personnel. If you can find a way to improve this offensive line quickly, whether it's, I don't know, say call the Colts and trade for Quentin Nelson or some shit, but but you improve the offensive line quickly, and you see a lot of these teams that are tops in the league. Buffalo, great offensive line. Kansas City, and they're the one score everything Taylor Swifty asses. They have a great offensive line. They have a great offensive line. Baltimore,
They do.
I think
They do.
I think a majority of us thought Baltimore was going to regress this season, and here they are.
Yeah. No. With the addition of Derrick Henry, that's one of
I
the
did not think
genius
that at
signings.
all.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes one of us. All right, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's like,
You,
and
you,
then
you can fly solo. That's fine.
I will gladly stay in this cabin by myself. Detroit might win the NFC and they have a great offensive line.
Yeah.
Phenomenal offensive line. They're mauling people.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a lot of these teams that are winning with great offensive lines and wide receiver by committee, running back by committee, and above average quarterback play, and they're destroying teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not willing to say, hey, let's go get rid of Geno Smith, because
What are we
How
going to
often
do?
are-
Put Sam Howell in there?
Yeah. Yeah. That
Can we
was
stop
going to be
that?
my
Can we
retort.
please stop that?
Yeah.
where is the Dave Chappelle meme? Where is it? I gotta find it.
Or, here's another idea that's going to be very controversial. You could shut the fuck up.
That's for all you Sam Howell dick suckers out there.
Okay,
You know
the only
who
thing
you
I will
are.
say. Okay, the only thing I'll say to that is 5 for 14.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what, because I liked when they got him. I thought, well,
I did too.
you know, he showed some, you know, promise with Washington. So I thought, okay, they can bring him in, coach him up, whatever. But then the what is it? What they say, the shines off the rose or
bloom is off
whatever
the
that
rose.
is. That's that statement.
Yep.
It's off for him. I don't want to hear that. And so, you know, please just put it in reverse and go away.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a symptom, and I'll jump in here and kind of say that I think whenever somebody is not happy with the quarterback play, there's always a certain, you know, you always fix your gaze to the backup and say maybe he can do something, and there's always a swell of people that will do that. But I think Geno is the easy scapegoat for people that are frustrated with the team and I don't want to say don't watch the games because that sounds arrogant. That sounds, you know, but
I will say that.
But Geno is the easy one to shift blame on because people still view him as the same player that he was with the Jets and Giants, younger, turnover machine, but he's not. Geno has been, everybody is extolling the virtues of what Kevin O'Connell has done with Sam Darnold this year, as they should. Sam Darnold has been rebuilt, but it was it was 3 years ago that Geno was the man that had been rebuilt because he had his best season taking over for Russell Wilson. The spotlight was on them. And he's regressed a little bit from that season. I think we can confidently say that season was a bit of an outlier, but he also is better than people think. Geno is better than people think in almost every way. The only time that it goes a little sideways is when he feels, and this is a quote, this is a loose interpretation of a quote that I remember from his own mouth before they went to play the 49ers in the playoffs. He said, I am guilty sometimes of trying to do too much, and I press. And when I'm pressing, then I get myself into trouble. That's basically what he said.
Yep, you're right.
It was self-diagnosis, and I think it's an accurate self-diagnosis. But as far as to Kevin's point and to your point that you've made before, who are we going to go get? Who are we going to go get?
The quarterback market, in particular for the free agent market, is not particularly deep, and neither is the draft.
Yeah.
So unless you are willing to draft a Will Howard from Ohio State in the 3rd round, or a Quinn Ewers in the 2nd round, or something like that, or develop one of these quarterbacks that you are basically betting your future on, you re-sign Geno Smith.
Yeah.
To a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
And Brady Henderson of ESPN brought this out, and someone asked, like, hey, do you think Geno Smith's going to get 40 to 45 million a year? He said significantly less than that. Significantly less. And you're probably looking at somewhere between the 30 to 36 million a year range. If that's the case, did our attitudes change?
I mean, I'll take it. You
take it.
Yeah, you were kind of you were in my range as far as I didn't think about the money. I'll just be real with you. I didn't think about the money because the quarterback market has been insane. So money's kind of a
Prescott.
It doesn't mean anything. It's monopoly money at this point. But for the duration, you and I are in the same pocket. I was saying we either go year to year with Geno moving forward or sign him to a 2-year deal, and we'll reevaluate after that.
Because he's going to be 36 in March.
I think so.
Give me 2 seconds there to find this out. Geno.
Just like on the Credentials show, we do live research right here.
Yeah. Shout out to Ryan, real-time research. He trademarked that.
He will be 35 he's 34 years old. He'll be 35 on October 10th.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to sign him to a 2 or a 3-year contract, that's not a bad idea. It's really not.
No, it's not, because then you would hope that by year 3 they have a successor in place.
Well, they better have one by then.
Yeah, and he could shift to a mentorship role, because who better than Geno Smith to tell, especially if they use a high round pick or they get some highly touted, a la a Sam Darnold, but a younger version, right? Somebody that it didn't really work out, but they're trying to rebuild them. Gino can testify to the fact that it is possible. I am an example of it, and he can guide them through. These are some of the pitfalls that can happen when you're in the NFL at a young age and everything else and everything. Organizations matter, people. That's the thing. Kevin, the reason that Daniel Jones signed with the Vikings, I wasn't in his head. I don't know, but I would guarantee that he probably looked and said, hey, if that guy did that with Sam Darnold, let me go there for a few months and see what I can learn from them. And then I'll go out and start for a team and maybe have a shot at having a similar thing happen.
So, which brings this question up here, because we have another multiple choice question for you guys. And what is the best, now we've had some time to think about it, what is the best quarterback option for 2025? Option 1, stick with Gino, build around him, sign to a 2 or 3 year extension, 30-something million a year. Okay, no problem. He's not going to get Dak Prescott's contract. Hell no.
Yeah.
God bless you, Dallas. I'm sorry.
Oh.
But
yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I live here, but I will not, subscribe to anything like that.
Good man. Option 2, draft a rookie quarterback in rounds 1, 2, or 3, and build and develop the kid. See what he can do, whether it's a Will Howard from Ohio State that I said earlier on, or Quinn Ewers or something like that, or I don't know a lot of the quarterback classes, or God forbid, a Shadir Sanders drops.
He's not going to drop.
He's not going to drop.
Happen.
He's
not going to happen.
It was a pipe dream, but just
a
perfect.
Maybe
example,
we could have a discussion on another time whether it should happen, but it's not going to happen.
Or option 3, sign or trade for one. I wrote JJ McCarthy because of the rumors, so
yeah.
Screw you guys, but I'll start with Dustin.
Okay.
What do you think? 1, 2, or 3?
I think the best option, and again, I'm kind of hedging my bets here, but I think you extend Gino for at least a year, and if there's somebody that you believe in the second or third round, go get him. Then you've got Gino there as your starter, and then you've got Sam Howell. Maybe maybe he can leap up a little bit because he's still, Sam Howell was behind a Swiss cheese offensive line his year in Washington.
True.
And he
threw sacked 70 times or something crazy like that.
Yeah. And he threw 21 touchdowns still, but I think the problem was he threw 21 interceptions. So he's still kind of a young guy. He's still like an unknown. Mm-hmm. So I could see them signing Gino I think they signed Gino to a 2-year deal. That's the pocket for me, especially knowing that he's not 35 yet. You sign him to a 2-year deal. If there's somebody that really buzzes up in the draft, like maybe there's some prospect, it always happens. Their draft value starts to skyrocket because they wow somebody at the pro day or whatever happens. If you see somebody like that in the second or third round, draft them and see what happens. But I'm with you. I don't know enough about the college game. I don't think the quarterback class is particularly deep, though.
I have it up here right now.
It never is.
Yeah,
but I have it up here.
I would say it's option 1 with a nod to option 2. I think signing and trading for QB, there's nobody out there. Could you get a complete reclamation project like the Broncos did with Zach Wilson? Maybe, but I don't think. I wouldn't do that. So, who else are you going to go out and get? I don't think there's a quarterback that would be available via trade that is significantly better than Gino. I'll put it that way.
No.
Some genius is going to comment the Russell Wilson reunion or some shit, but
that I think that bridge is. It was somewhat repaired. I was happy to see that Russ came to what ended up being basically Pete Carroll's retirement party. I was happy that there was a reunion there, but that bridge is burned.
Yeah, so the top 5 quarterback prospects in the 2025 draft are Shadir Sanders, Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, and Carson Beck in that order. That is of NFLDraftBuzz.com.
Okay.
If you listen to Vince, he's got some comments on that very subject. So
Yeah,
I'll just throw that in there.
we'll bother Vince one of these days. Vince Stover of the sports stove. We'll bother his ass one of these days. But Kevin, what do you think? Where are you on this coin here?
I think that as I remember a couple of years ago when Russell Wilson left, and I was like, please, 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 please don't let it be Geno Smith or Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Please don't let it be that. And I was completely wrong. I was right about Drew Lock. Okay, right about that. But Geno Smith, he came in and he's done more than any one of us could have possibly predicted.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about his issues this year with the interceptions and all that, but that goes back to the offensive line. So if you sign him, then you don't have to put any draft capital with that, and you can go out and get yourself some help on your offensive line and possibly third round or so. Because remember, Russell Wilson was a third round selection.
Yep.
When he was drafted.
Yep.
So you don't have to take a first round draft pick on a quarterback to be successful.
No, you don't.
You just have to draft the right one, is all that is. So
yeah, you're right on that part. And the other thing you can look at is if you sign Geno now, the cap space becomes a little bit easier to calculate because then the DK Metcalf extension becomes more realistic.
Yeah, which that's a whole other ball of wax, and
yes,
we realize it. Okay, the Tom Brady's, the 6th round selection that pans out, and it's short still, but the Brock Purdy's and the Russell Wilsons, that doesn't always happen. We understand that, but I'd much rather sign Geno to a bridge deal, a quote unquote bridge deal, and then find your successor either in the later rounds or if there's somebody next year or the year after that you're really high on, go get them. But I would rather have offensive line help. I remember a couple of shows ago we were talking about, you had mentioned a offensive lineman from the Colts that we should go out. We should go out to get. So if the DK Metcalf trade thing is going to happen, make it to a team like that where you can get maybe a Josh Downs or an Alec Pierce back in return along with some offensive line help.
I think it was the first show we did.
Might have been.
That's right.
Might have been.
I believe so. And it's just unfortunate that DK Metcalf decided to take a major step back this year.
Well, also there's a lot of pieces to that pie there that you can point to and say, hey, this is the reason why DK took a step back. He was damn near triple teamed every other play.
That's the thing. He was the reason why I would say, oh man, everybody's hot to trot because of what JSN has done, and I'm one of them. But we got to remember that Geno is drawing a lot of DK is drawing a lot of double teams. That's part of the reason. He makes the fact that a wonderful athlete like JSN is just running down the slot open. I mean, I'll say it. The move to the slot was a genius move.
He's a natural in the slot.
Yeah.
He's a natural. And I'm with you on that part. I would sign Geno to a bridge deal. See what's out there for a potential Metcalf trade, but I still wouldn't trade him because you have pieces in the offensive line, but you need to see what you really do have. Unless if Indianapolis calls you and say, hey, trade us your first round pick, we'll give you Quentin Nelson. Who says no? Or we'll give you DK Metcalf for Quentin Nelson straight up. Who says no? And that's where I am on this spectrum here. But we have one more game to discuss this season. Week 18, meaningless game for both parties here.
Yeah.
The Rams, who are resting a majority of their starters, a majority of the Seahawks starters are going to be resting as well. I would assume so. Is this meaningless to talk about, or is it just me?
The bloom came off the rose.
That's what the thing is. Okay, bloom came off the rose, right?
To circle it back, the bloom has come off the rose. If Atlanta had been able to beat the Commanders, we would be having a completely different discussion, and there would be a small possibility that this game would be flexed into the Sunday night game because it would decide the fate of the NFC West. We are in a completely different area now, and I, much to my chagrin, to bring it to Kevin's area of expertise for just a moment,
yes,
I have a league where the championship, which I am in, is week 18, and I just stop doing that. Stop doing that, please, because Cooper Kupp, the decision was made for me because he has not had great games his last few games. But he is going to be out. But I'm slotting in.
He was out when he was in.
Yeah. My replacement is Jackson Smith-Njigba. So I have a player who may not play all that much going for my championship team here for some cheddar out there. But the game isn't meaningless because I always want to beat the Rams. I have some carryover Rams dislike from the Mike Martz years. And you probably remember, Kevin, when the Rams were the kings of the division, but you could tell the Seahawks were getting better, but we just couldn't knock them off the perch yet. Then I was excited. I was excited when we got the Grant Wustrom trade. That's a name from back in the day. The Grant Wustrom trade. I was very happy that went through. That was the thing. He was very good. So it's not meaningless, but the game has lost its luster for sure, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo in for the Rams.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Dustin, that this game doesn't mean anything. And if I could do a shameless plug, because I just put out an article this morning about the final NFL regular season schedule games, and this is one of those that means absolutely nothing. And you're right, Dustin. If you've got anybody in this I'm in 2 redraft leagues. One which I won the championship. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
And the other one where it was a 2 weeks semifinals and 2 weeks finals. So I am in that. So I'm one of those ones that have to make a decision of who I'm going to play. And you really need to pay attention to who's in and who's out. And I think you're right, Dustin. There's maybe the Seahawks rest everybody. Maybe Sam Howell, they throw him out there because if you want to know what you got in the man, throw him in there.
Yeah.
And see what happens. So I would stay away from this game entirely if in fantasy. And so maybe if there's no pressure, you could just watch the game and enjoy it. I'll just put it like that.
I will.
Yeah, that's the thing. This will be, I think we've preached the theme of this episode has been in some areas we got to see what we have. This game will be an opportunity to do that because a lot of the starters will be resting, and maybe somebody really, really plays their tail off in this game and impresses some people, and then maybe they carry it over into a good spring. And right now, somebody that we don't even know is a budding star next year. You never know. Those are the type of storylines that you're gonna have to watch for this game. But also, Sean McVay is a great coach. I am excited for the one aspect to see a great offensive mind match up against what I believe is our great defensive mind in Mike Macdonald. This should be an interesting chess match, but man, I don't know how you feel, Mr. Smooth. I just feel like there's not too much to talk about with this game anymore. Hope we get a few sacks on old Jimmy GQ, though. I hope we knock him down.
Can we place him under the turf? Can we do that?
Yeah. Old porn star Jimmy. I'm proud of that sound. I'll watch the game, but I'll watch with a few beers and just see how this goes.
Yeah,
a few Bud Lights here and there and stuff like that. But
don't forget the line. Okay, let me just throw that in there.
I will not forget that. It's actually a good idea.
It is
Bud Light and lime. It's actually not a bad idea. Huh? Well, you gave me an idea there, Kevin.
Hot beer takes.
I'm here to help.
This is true. He seems like a beer guy, ladies and gentlemen. He really does.
I'm not really a beer guy. I'm a lime guy more than anything else. So
Lime is fantastic. Key lime
yeah,
pie.
if
You
I'm
got to
going to
find
drink
the
a
right
beer, it
ones.
has to have a lime. Just has
Okay.
All
to.
right. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Looking ahead to the off season, we don't know what the cap space situation is on the top of our heads, but there are rumors surfacing around that Tyler Lockett might play his last game as a Seahawk
I saw that.
this weekend because his cap space is woo boy. It's a lot. I don't know. I mean, I'm very excited to see what the defense is going to improve on for the offseason. I'm more excited about the offensive line. And to me, the big free agent decisions are Ernest Jones, Geno Smith, and DK.
Yeah.
I think we can pretty much assume, unless Tyler Lockett gets restructured,
Yeah.
that he's played his last game as a Seahawk.
Yeah.
Which
agree.
sucks.
It does. And but he's been supposedly stepping off the mountainside for like 3 years straight now. So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
put that on hold for quite some time. So hats off to him for that.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he doesn't retire, to be honest with you. It feels like a natural ending point. Because he's not going to get the, like you said, I think they will let him go, and I can't see him playing for any other team other than the Seahawks.
No, that would be wrong. Just like Jerry Rice, unfortunately, in a Seahawk uniform. Nobody wanted to see that.
Yeah, that was.
They unretired Steve Large's number for that.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes,
Unbelievable.
Somebody should have been stabbed in the eye just for that, even thinking.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! Wasn't it who was it? Wasn't it Denver? He played he was on Denver's practice squad in like the preseason for a little bit. He wore number 19 with the Broncos.
Yeah, it was
because
19,
because of Rod Smith.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Yep.
Well, Rod Smith is a little bit different, you know what I'm saying, than Steve Largent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
Largent gave him permission. That's why Mr. Seahawk himself, Steve Largent. So
Yoda.
Yeah.
I would have never even approached him with something like that because I would be worried about. I know he was a nice guy and everything, but I wouldn't want to face him and say, "Hey, can we have your number?" No.
Yeah.
Nope.
That would have been tough. And I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think part of the reason that he accepted it is because he was like, if anybody else can represent 80 better than I could, it's perhaps maybe the greatest receiver of all time, Jerry, right? I think it was because Jerry is Jerry that he allowed it to happen. I don't know if somebody else of lesser note had been the reason that they were asking him. I don't think he accepts that.
Yeah, I hear you with that part. But Dustin, where is the meter of excitement on this offseason right now?
I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what they can put together. All those free agent decisions I would not be mad if Geno is back, as we've discussed in the last segment. I would not be mad if DK is back. If we're going to possibly trade DK Metcalf, it has to be an offer that is a offer that's going to blow you away, either a lot of future picks or offensive line help coming back.
To quote Marlon Brando from The Godfather, 1972, make an offer you can't refuse.
Yes, that's what it's got to be. Because as much as DK sometimes he can get fired up and he can take boneheaded penalties sometimes. Like I've said on previous shows, I'd rather have that than somebody that doesn't care. So I'm excited about that. If all of those free agent signings are back, because I think Ernest Jones has earned his spot more than deservingly so. I am excited to see what Mike Macdonald and John Schneider can continue to do with these defenses, because I guarantee you Macdonald and Schneider have their eye on somebody that I'm not even fathoming right now. They know more about football than me by a long shot. Most of the people watching this show maybe know more about football than me, but I'm just excited to see what another year. And I do think, and I hope, and I don't know one way or the other about this, but hopefully both of you know, I do think keeping Leslie Frazier as an associate head coach / consultant, keep that man. It's a smart move. When you have the youngest coach in the NFL, it's good to have someone else who has a wealth of experience. And guess what? Also is a defensive expert, because they went all in on the defensive side with the Mike Macdonald signing and contract. They did not go after Ben Johnson and try to out Sean McVay, and out Kyle Shanahan, and out Jonathan Gannon. All those guys are offensive guys. The Seahawks zagged. So I'm excited to see what another year of Mike Macdonald brings us. And I want some offensive line help. That's my only wish list.
Kevin?
So my main wish list for the offseason is I would prefer if we saw the schedule come out and the Seahawks did not have to go to Detroit for the 4th straight year.
Oh, man.
That is the silliest damn thing I've ever seen. Well, it ties because a few years ago, the Seahawks had to go play Carolina 3 years in a row. So I just don't understand how you come up with this nonsense. I don't get it at all. That you look at that and say, well, hell, we can't have this team play, in the same place 3 years in a row. Let's change some things. So if they wind up playing the Lions, can you please have them come to Seattle at least once a damn decade? Okay, so that's
they're playing the
number
NFC
one.
South. Update, they're playing the NFC South, the AFC, and the AFC South.
Oh, okay.
So, and the NFC North opponent has yet to be determined. Neither has the AFC North opponent or the NFC East opponent, so we shall see.
Okay. We'll see about that, and I think you're right, Dustin. One of the key things is what are we going to do with at the wide receiver position? Because if you move on from DK, you can't expect Smith, the Jigma, to carry that offense, as a wide receiver, because as we just mentioned, Lockett is most likely out.
Yeah.
So if you're going to trade him, you better have another plan to bring in a wide receiver. So if you don't, just leave that alone. Get Geno, get him in camp, get him signed up, make him happy, and then worry about your offensive line. Keep improving on the defense because, like I said, I would have been doing a dance at the beginning of the season if you told me that the Seahawks had finished 10th in points allowed. So, and when I looked at it, they gave up the fewest points in their division.
Yes.
Who could have possibly predicted that? So keep building on that, and that's pretty much it.
What does help the potential of a Metcalf trade is that wide receivers now officially, for the first time in decades, grow on trees.
That's true. But like I said, have a plan. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to do that, have a plan. That's all I'm saying.
Don't believe me? Look at Green Bay's wide receiving core.
Yeah, but I mean that wide receiving core, and I get it, fantasy football and real football are completely separate things, but it is frustrating because you don't know who's going to be the guy. It seems like they're all kind of similar, which must be held for opposing defenses, because who do you tab as the number one threat to stop, on Green Bay, it should be Josh Jacobs, but I'm talking wide receiver core. Who is the number one in that? I don't think they have a clear-cut number one.
They don't right now, and that's
they don't.
But that's what helps, is that they don't have a clear number one, because your main goal is to stop Josh Jacobs and then just yeet the ball to Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Jalen Reed, Dontavian Wicks, like the Ball Melton, former Seahawk. Like, they have guys there, and that does help a little bit, but at the same point, they also have a great offensive line.
Yeah. That's the difference.
That's
as
right.
we saw.
That's right, Dustin. You're right about that. Is one of the things in fantasy, because you've got teams now throwing to 7 different wide receivers.
Yeah,
Kansas City, perfect example.
Yeah, right. And
that's the other perfect example of a potential DK Metcalf trades. I talked about this a couple shows ago. Kansas City decided to trade Tyreek Hill away.
Yep,
they did
for a first
round
pick.
They've won 2 Super Bowls since then. So
so it is possible to happen. It's very possible.
Mm-hmm.
But
the difference is, and I think obviously the injury changed things, but they hit on the wide receiver that got injured in the beginning of the year. He was a high round draft pick. I can't remember.
Plus, they hit because Rice didn't get suspended,
Yeah.
as we all thought he would.
Yeah, we thought that's right. I did forget he had some off the field issues.
He did that about 2 miles from where I'm sitting right now, so I was well aware of that.
Oh, wow. Wow.
On the freeway. Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow.
Jeez. But everything else aside, they hit on their next wide receiver draft pick after the Cheetah trade there. So
yeah, Worthy.
Yeah.
From Texas.
Yep.
So we do have some final thoughts, and because the offseason, because the Seahawks aren't in the playoffs, there are some questions regarding the plans of the show going forward. So the Seahawks sessions is going to continue throughout the offseason, throughout the playoffs, the draft, free agency, blah, 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 and the whole 9 yards. And it just won't be probably as much throughout the summer because, there's nothing going on from June to July and August.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So we'll really go back to a week by week basis around September, but we'll definitely more content's going to be coming, guys, because if this show doesn't produce more content, the other 3 shows I have will.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yes.
You've got the weekend to rest up, so
yeah, you're a busy man.
After my car gets fixed.
Yeah, you need that.
Yeah, definitely need to, when you put the key in the ignition that it turns and runs. That's always, a good feeling to have. So.
Please.
Yeah.
Oh, please. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to Seahawks Sections episode 4. We will be back next week after the regular season concludes to talk the playoffs and predict some shit. And we'll talk some Hawks football and stuff like that, see what changes are made after the season. From Kevin Wilson over the great state of Texas, from El Dusto, from the capital region of Albany, New York, I am Staniel Smooth, coming from the beaches of lovely Long Island, New York. This has been Seahawks Sessions, episode 4, and we will see you all in this life, and most certainly the next one. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. Have yourselves a good night.
Everybody have a great weekend.